on? Hey, it's Johnny Jet. Welcome back to my podcast YouTube channel. Today we have Rick Steves, who you probably know from PBS or his European guidebooks, his radio show, his speaker tour. I mean, you travel around the country speaking. And actually now you have a new actually Italy cookbook. Actually, it's not a cookbook. It's Italy for food lovers, which, I don't know if you know this, but I'm half Italian. And obviously I
If
love food.
if you like food and if you like Italy,
I
this
mean,
is
this is
cool.
I was just reading about it yesterday, and man, you're making me hungry. In fact, I actually went to one of the best Italian places here in LA, Italy, so I can
Oh,
actually
yeah.
have some flavors of Italy, although it's not the same, but
Right.
it's pretty close.
Nice to be with you, Johnny.
You too. So, where'd you grow up, and where do you live?
I grew up right here north of Seattle in Edmonds, halfway between Seattle and Everett, and I've lived here all my life. In fact, I can look out my window right now and see where I went to junior high school in 1967 to 1970.
That's amazing. And did you go to college?
Yes, I went to the University of Washington.
And what'd you study?
History and business.
History and
Before I
business.
knew I was going to be doing this work, I was a piano teacher. I thought I was going to be a piano teacher all my life, but I fell into this work.
Do you still play the piano, by the way?
Oh, I love to play the piano.
That's awesome. And how often do you fly?
I fly, well, 3 days ago I was in Morocco. I fly to Europe and back probably 3 times a year. This year I went 4 times, and I've been sort of thinking that's a drag. I'd rather have longer trips and go fewer times. But I fly quite a bit, and I fly around the country. In 10 days, I'm embarking on I think 9 cities in 9 days road trip where I'm giving talks in different cities around the country. I do a lot of that.
Wow. And do you have a certain airline that you always fly, or?
I could care less.
Okay. I think you told me once that you don't even care about freaking flyer miles. Is that true?
I've never bothered with frequent flyer miles. No,
Rick, I mean,
I know it's against your ethic, but I've got more important things on my mind than a lot of little details like that. I don't have different credit cards for different, what do you call it, fancy programs, benefit
all the
programs.
rewards programs.
Rewards programs, yeah. But I mean, I've got enough money where I don't need to scramble for a free trip.
Okay, good man. But you can always donate those miles.
I could
at the end of the year or whenever you want.
Yep.
But any idea how many countries you've been to?
I could care less how many countries I've been to because it means nothing. How many preconceptions have you changed? How many friends have you made? But how many countries have you been to? It doesn't mean anything, because you could call an airport or a
Right.
rooftop garden on an Intercontinental Hotel in Guatemala, and you haven't really been in that country.
That's a fact.
But how many people have you eaten with high in the Atlas Mountains who are Berbers, who have their opinion about their king in Morocco? Now you've traveled. I did that last week. So I suppose if I tallied up how many countries I've been in, it would be unimpressive. But I've spent conservatively a quarter of my life since I graduated from high school overseas,
Right.
living in different hotels. And I've probably on average, that's 3 months a year for 50 years.
Right.
Exactly. I just had my 50th high school reunion, but 3 months a year overseas, 90% of that in Europe, probably an average of 2 nights in a row in a hotel or youth hostel. So you could do the arithmetic, and that's a lot of travel.
I mean, you specialize in Europe with your business, but I remember once you told me that your favorite country was actually Iran. Is that true?
Probably.
Or has it changed?
No, India.
India. Okay.
India.
Sorry. But you've been to
Yeah.
Iran too, right?
Well, I've been to Iran, yeah, but I love traveling outside of Europe. I wrote a book on Asia a long time ago. But since I've decided to just be the best on Europe, that's what I've focused on.
Gotcha. And have you been to all the countries in Europe, or do you say just the major ones that most Americans go to?
I've been to all the countries in what most people think of as Europe, but Eastern Europe I've not really done. The former Soviet Union.
Right.
But everywhere we've decided to rename what we call Eastern Europe Central Europe, the Warsaw Pact.
Yeah, I mean, when you go there, like in Prague and places like that, they are like, yeah, we're Central Europe. But Latvia, you ever been to Latvia or Estonia? You must have been Estonia.
Oh, I've been to the Baltics. Yep. Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, great places. I've spent a lot more time in Estonia. It's just a nice side trip from Helsinki and a great way to
Right.
spice up your Scandinavian tour.
So what's your earliest travel memory?
My earliest travel memory was going to Europe when I was 14 years old with my mom and dad to visit the piano factories. And in Vienna, the best pianos in the world are made, the Bösendorfer factory in a former monastery. They don't have an assembly line. They kind of birth pianos. There's a piano being birthed in the former monastic cells there. And it's an amazing situation. And on a Sunday, we went with the salesman from Bösendorf out to a village right on the border of Hungary. And I remember went to this church, and it was all the people dressed in their formal black outfits. And then after church, everybody walked across the square, past the dusty fountain, into the wine garden. And it was filled with multi-generational families getting together. And we sat down with a man who had a handlebar mustache and a fancy old pipe. And he looked just like a caricature out of some old European dream. And we were smearing lard on rustic bread and drinking white wine. And he told me how he witnessed the assassination of the Archduke Ferdinand in 1914 that started World War I. And I was just like, whoa, tell me more. But that was a moment when I was just a little kid. And I thought, boy, Europe is a fun place to explore. And if you understand a little history, it's even more fun.
I mean, you're lucky you got to go when you were so young. And were your parents piano teachers? Or I mean, or were you that good at that age?
Oh, my dad was, he imported pianos. He was a piano tuner, and he took me along to, every piano had a personality because they're handmade. So I would play, I was a better piano player than my dad, but he was the businessman and the importer and the piano technician. So I'd play it, and he'd analyze the personality of the sound, and then I would play a bunch of different pianos in Vienna, and then he'd choose which one had the personality, musical personality that matched his client's taste back in Seattle. And he would sign the sounding board, and then they'd put it in a box and mail it to Seattle.
And by the way, how's your son Andy doing? Does he live in Europe, or when I interviewed him last time,
Yeah, Andy's doing great. He's lives in Seattle now, and he works in my company, and he's a great tour guide. He's one of we've got 150 tour guides at Rick Steves Europe, and he is just a really good tour guide. I'm so proud of him.
That's great. What area does he specialize in, by the way?
He does Italy and the Best of Europe tours.
Okay. And do you have a favorite American city besides Edmonds or Seattle?
Well, from a tourism point of view, New Orleans is really fun for me. And Boston and New York and Washington, D.C., those are great destinations for me for traveling. But I spend a lot of time on the road in the United States, but it's always just airport to hotel to TV station to hotel to airport to university campus to interview to, so I'm just working when I'm on the road. And I don't really, when I'm traveling around the United States, I just focus on staying healthy, being well organized, and getting the job done. So, I go to a lot of public television stations for pledge drives to help them remind people about the importance of public television. And I produced this symphony called Symphonic Journey, Europe, a Symphonic Journey, which celebrates music from the late 19th century in 7 different countries in Europe. And it analyzes how ethnocentric we all are in our musical tastes. And I wanted to get people out of their comfort zone and celebrate other cultures' music, just like we celebrate John Philip Sousa and Aaron Copland and Scott Joplin and so on. And also how romanticism and nationalism go hand in hand. Seems like a wonky kind of thing, but it's a great concert. And I've been doing that in symphonies all over the country. It's a lot of fun. Later on today, I'm talking with the creative director of the Cincinnati Symphony, and they're asking me to come. And I'll be going to a couple of symphonies in Florida and Seattle. And I just finished Boston Pops for the second time with this program called Europe, a Symphonic Journey. So I spend a lot of time on the road just working.
I gotcha. I mean, when I used to be afraid, not only afraid to fly, I was afraid to leave the country, leave the house even. And, one of my passions is get people out there. I always tell people how As corny as it sounds, I truly believe if more people travel, especially internationally, the less prejudices there would be in the world.
Oh, it's so true. It's so true. I mean, I work with 100 people here in my company at Rick Steves Europe in Seattle, and our mission is to equip and inspire Americans to venture beyond Orlando. And you know, it's nothing wrong with Disney World, but after 4 or 5 trips to Disney World, you could try Portugal. You know, I was just in Morocco for 2 weeks and just had the time of my life. It was really great. And if everybody did travel, I think the world would be a more stable and a more just and a more peaceful place. I think I often kind of think if the world was smart, they would create a fund to finance every American who graduates from school a 2-week trip to some country far away that's not just a party destination on the Mexican coast, but something where they'd be out of their comfort zone and broaden their perspective. They'd bring home that most beautiful souvenir, which is a broader perspective.
100%. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I left the country, I was like, oh my God, am I going to get my head cut off? You know, watching the news. And then I get to these different countries and, you know, in the middle, even in the Middle East and Asia, I'm like, oh my God, I feel safer there than I do at home.
I agree. I was just just this year, I've been in Turkey, and I've been in Morocco, and I've been in Estonia, and I've been in all across Nordic Europe, and everywhere I feel totally safe. I come home impressed about the fact that the world's just filled with beautiful people and a lot of love and a lot of joy and a lot of families. And of course, there's tragedies too, but if you just watch the news, you would be inclined to stay home and build walls. But I think if we really know what peace is all about, we got to build bridges.
Agreed. I mean, I feel like 98% of the people in the world are good. It's just like the 2% get all the headlines.
Yep. So true.
How about, do you have a favorite international city? Is there one place you really look forward to going to?
You could measure that by I have 40 different itineraries on our tour program. This year we took 30,000 people to Europe on 1,200 different tours around Europe. And there's 4 itineraries out of those 40 that are just one city, 1 week in one city. What 4 cities in Europe deserve a week-long tour where you organize and you fill every day with activities? Of course, London, Paris, Rome, and Istanbul. And Istanbul is one of the great cities on the planet. I absolutely love Istanbul.
Yes, I've been there once and I did love it. I had a feeling you were going to say the other 3. How about, is there any place you have no desire to go to? Stumped you.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Orlando. When I was in Orlando, I usually I'm working on my guidebooks and updating chapters. And I was in Orlando and I thought, if I had to write a guidebook chapter to Orlando, I would be not a happy camper. I like chaos. I like color. I like history. I like diversity. I like getting out of my comfort zone. A lot of people try to avoid culture shock. To me, culture shock is a good thing. It's the growing pains of a broadening perspective, right. And it needs to be curated. But I think culture shock is great.
How about the friendliest people in the world? Where do you think they are?
Well, that's for me, Norway, because I've got relatives in Norway. I love that. Ireland, super friendly. Ireland, part of that is because we speak the language, so we can enjoy the hospitality. I was just I'm in a Morocco frame of mind because I was just there a couple of days ago, constantly impressed by how friendly the people were there. I find people are friendly all over the world. They just have a different world, a different life story. I mean, if it's hard for people in war-torn and difficult corners to be friendly sometimes because they have to be on guard. It's hard for people in big cities to be friendly because life's a little more aggressive. So, you're doing better to go away from the tourists and away from the big cities if you want to find that warmth and that easygoing, right. Hospitality.
Yeah. I was in Morocco once and our tour guide insisted we go to his house for a meal, and we met his family, and they were they're so friendly.
If you can get into a meal anywhere, I was in Iran. I find that my favorite travel experiences, Johnny, are places our government says I shouldn't go. I'm no adventurous traveler going to all sorts of scary corners, but my very favorite travel experiences have been in Cuba, in Iran, in Russia, in the Holy Land, in India, exciting places and very friendly people. But in all those cases, if you make a friend and get invited into a home for dinner, that's going to be a lifetime memory.
Agreed. 100% on that. How about, what country do you think has the meanest or toughest immigration officers?
United States.
Yeah. Okay. I hear that.
Notorious.
I think it's
notorious
Canada.
For that. If we're an American, so we don't get the brunt of that.
Right.
But if you're from another country and you're coming to the United States, it's pretty harsh sometimes. And you can make a case for it, but
I have seen it. I've actually, it's disturbing.
I know, because we fly our guides in from all over Europe for our annual guide summit here in Seattle, and we host 100 guides for a week-long workshop when we're getting our team together. And they have some stories coming into the country that just you'd be ashamed if it was your country, but it is our country.
Agreed. Do you have when you book your tickets, do you choose a certain aircraft, or you don't care?
I don't even know what kind of plane I'm flying on.
Really?
Yeah, I was on a real nice plane the other day, but they're all nice. I mean, I don't care. I'm flying 600 miles an hour at 30,000 feet for a good price. I'm going to go from Istanbul to Seattle nonstop in 12 hours. How could you complain about the food or the legroom? You're flying from Istanbul to Seattle in 12 hours.
I tell people that all the time. I go, I tell my kids, I go, we can travel across the country in 5 hours. You know what? My great grandparents would never believe that we can do this. It would take them a month or 3 months.
Look out the window and imagine doing this on a bus,
Yeah. So by the way, do you choose a window seat or aisle?
I choose aisle. I used to choose a window seat, but now I like aisle. I get cold next to the window. I like to be able to get up and stretch. I like to drink a lot in the planes. And when you drink a lot in the planes, you go to the bathroom more. So I don't like to disturb people. The aisle works for me.
I'm with you too. How about, do you have a favorite domestic and international airport?
No.
Or terminal?
No, I just blow through.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm impressed by the infrastructure that gets people from the airport into town, and in some cases it's really easy, and in other cases it's not so easy. So if a country has a government subsidized, fast and stress-free way to get downtown without going in a taxi, that's a pretty nice thing.
Right. How about, do you have a favorite hotel or rental?
A hotel?
Yeah, a hotel or a house rental or apartment rental.
Well, my job is to look at hotels all over Europe. I change locations in hotels. If I'm in a city for 6 days, I'll rarely be in the same hotel for those 6 days because I want to stay in different neighborhoods and try different hotels. But I've got 50 guidebooks covering all of Europe, and every guidebook has my favorite hotels in that city. Right. So what I've noticed, Johnny, is over the years, I do develop my favorite hotels in each city. And when I'm getting lazy, I don't go to a new hotel, I go to my favorite hotel. So when I'm in Madrid, I go to Hotel Europa. When I'm in Sevilla, I go to Hotel Amadeus. When I'm in Rome, I go to Santa Chiara. So I have my favorites that way. Right. But for me, the key is to find a hotel that's kind of convivial, family-run, beautifully located. For me, the location is critical.
And do you ever go on vacation? And if so, where do you go?
Up until COVID, I never really went on vacations because I just love my work so much.
Right.
But since COVID, I've been going on vacation every year with my girlfriend, and I enjoy venerable long distance hikes in Europe. We spent 8 days hiking around Mount Blanc. I took a tour for that, meaning I hired a company to book the hotels that came with nice dinners and provide a Sherpa service that carried our bags from one hotel to the next. And every day we would hike, and we'd go, it'd be about a 6 or 8 hour hike, and we'd go up 3,000 feet to, and then we'd have a picnic on the ridge, and we'd hike down 3,000, lose 3,000 feet in altitude into the next valley. Did that 6 days in a row, going from Chamonix, essentially all the way around back to Chamonix, around Europe's highest mountain. That was really good. Next year we did a hike where we didn't have a tour, but I just set it up in my own favorite part of Switzerland, the Berner Oberland. And I also did a luxury gourmet barge tour in Burgundy last year, which is the most decadent thing I've ever done in Europe. And that was really nice. And then my trip to Morocco just this last couple of weeks was a vacation, because I don't have a guidebook on Morocco, and I'm not doing a TV show on Morocco. We don't have tours in Morocco. So I was just able to relax and have a good time.
And speaking of Morocco, this time of year, I mean, because of what's going on in the Middle East, did you feel unsafe at all?
No, I mean, I felt perfectly safe. I was walking through the rubble caused by that tragic earthquake a couple months ago, and that was very interesting. And it was just a reminder that rebar is really important. You know, in Marrakesh, the new city has rebar, and there was no damage from the earthquake. And the old city is made out of adobe kind of bricks without rebar, and there was a lot of damage there. But you know, the world's got all sorts of, you know, hotspots and tragic, you know, sectarian or war strife. And I just want to get out and talk to people and get a better sense of what's happening. To be in part of an Islamic country right now is a beautiful thing. And I've spent a lot of time this year in Islamic countries, in Istanbul and Turkey and in Morocco. And, you know, a Christian, a Westerner should learn to enjoy the Muslim call to prayer. For a lot of people, it kind of freaks them out. I think it's one of the most beautiful sounds in the world.
I love it when they air it. We're running out of time. We got 2 minutes left. So what's your best travel tip, number one? And then what are 5 things you bring on a plane?
Well, the best travel tip is equip yourself with good information and expect yourself to travel smart, and you can. And to realize that your time is a precious resource like your money. So don't just do things that are cheap if it costs you time needlessly. 5 things I bring onto an airplane is everything I bring with me on a trip, because I never check my bag. So I can't remember the last time I checked my bag. And I just live out of a 9 by 22 by 14 inch carry-on the airplane size suitcase. What do I have in my ready access bag that I don't put upstairs that I keep with me on the plane? Noise reduction headphones, a fully charged laptop, and Ambien, so I can get some sleep if I want some.
And do you carry your passport with you when you're doing these tours, or do you keep it in the hotel room?
I keep it in my hotel room. The safest place for me for my valuables is in the hotel room, but I've never used a safe in a hotel room.
Yeah, I keep it in my hotel room too. And my last question, I know you got pickpocketed once. Did you learn anything from that experience?
I think I've been pickpocketed 3 times.
Have you? Paris was one of them.
Trying to think. I got pickpocketed. I went to a bad neighborhood in London and Brixton and got pickpocketed a long time ago. And I got pickpocketed in Lisbon. And in Lisbon, I knew I was getting into the dangerous area. And I like to venture into the edgy areas when I'm doing my guidebook research, just to see what's comfortable and what's safe for my readers, because I kind of like the dodgy neighborhoods. But if it's reckless, I don't want to have people going there. And I don't think you're going to get knifed, but if you're sloppy, you can get pickpocketed or purse snatched. I just bought a nice pair of pants for my TV work, and I spent $10 extra to get a button put into the back pocket. It's the best $10 I could spend. You know, if you got a zipper or a button, that's critical. A money belt, you know, we give anybody that takes one of our tours a money belt, and that's a beautiful tool. So right. You can be out and about without having your trip messed up by a petty street thief. But
how about a crossbody bag?
I don't use that. Okay. I just use a simple day bag. You can see the bag on all my TV shows. I've got the same bag. It's just I've designed it. It's called the Chivita Day Bag. I love it. But your valuables, I think they should be zipped up. The crossbody thing is it's a good deal. Different kinds of money belts, anything that has things so they're not easy to just grab. Right. I was just with one of my guides in Istanbul, and I was really impressed by how she had a purse, but she had it under her arm and in front of her when we were in the crowded areas. And she was a local person that was quite savvy. I would just remind our listeners that thieves in Europe, that's my beat, but Thieves Anywhere they target American tourists, not because they're mean or they don't like us. We're just common sense victims because we've got all the good stuff in our purses and wallets. So, you're going to get targeted, but if you've got it zipped up or buttoned away or in a money belt, you're all right. But if you're sloppy, right now I've got, I guess I don't have my wallet, but if you have a little wallet just in your back pocket, I took a photograph just a couple months ago in Copenhagen at the changing of the guard, and everybody was gathered around the Royal Palace. I guess it was Stockholm, the palace in Stockholm. Everybody's gathered around, and I stood back and pretend I was a thief, and I took a picture of everybody's butts, all these, back pockets. And I just thought, what a field day. If I was a thief, I would just sit back there while everybody's jostling to see the changing of the guard.
Right.
And I go, well, no wallet there. There's a wallet there, and there's a wallet there. I think I'll grab that one. And then, at the next jostle, you're just in there and boom, you've got that wallet. And then, a few minutes later, the person goes, hey, what happened? They're really good. And
never carry your wallet in your back pocket.
That's the first law. And it's kind of sport. If you get ripped off, you screwed up. Get your act together.
I do. Well, I know you got to go. So Rick, people can find you at ricksteves.com. They can check out your new book, Italy for Food Lovers.
Yeah. We got a lot of new shows on TV. We've got a 6-hour series it's a 12-episode series on European art from the beginning to the end, all across the spectrum, from prehistoric art right up to Picasso and the art of today. And that's airing all over the country on public television. So we're enjoying inspiring and equipping Americans to get out there and make friends with the world. Thanks, Johnny, for all you do.
Thank you for everything you do.
All right. Take care.
Take care. All the best.